Hello, readers! Welcome to another episode of Reading in the Middle. I am your host, Anisha Jeffries, and I am thrilled to have my very special guest, Penny Schneider, a talented author, illustrator, and art educator from Long Island, New York, shares her home with her husband, daughter, and her daughter's pet Betta fish. Interestingly, the fish isn't named Arty. Penny's childhood dream was to become a girl Walt Disney, a passion that led her to a fulfilling career as an art teacher. As a mom, she's been known to create whimsical drawings and tell playful stories to entertain and educate her daughter. Penny's love for doodling, making people laugh, is evident in her visually captivating art. I'm thrilled to introduce our conversation with Penny Schneider about her delightful new graphic novel, Arty. The story follows a lonely Betta fish named Arty on his quest for friendship as he navigates through the challenges of the underwater world. Blending humor and heart, the novel is a touching and visually captivating tale that's a perfect mix of art and storytelling. It's sure to charm readers of all ages. And now, here's my conversation with Penny Schneider. Hello, Penny. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for joining me and for our listeners for Reading in the Middle. Your graphic novel, Arty, it is so much fun. It's very humorous. It is very interactive and engaging, and it's heartfelt as well. Arty is a betta fish,
Yes.
known for their solitary and aggressive nature.
Yes.
And so Arty is different because he longs for friendship.
Yes.
Inspire you to give Arty these unconventional desires.
Well, first of all, I'm a high school art teacher, and I see a lot of kids. So a lot of times I see students that they're very tough on the outside. They act a certain way, even disruptive in class or bullying. But I work my magic and I get to know them on a different way. And once they feel comfortable with me, that outside kind of comes off. And then that inner nice, funny thing kind of comes out. And I've seen it so many times. So it's kind of like Arty. He knows how he's supposed to be. In the book, he goes to beta school and he learns to be a very tough beta. You got to fight for your right to beta.
Exactly.
And, but on the inside, being also beta fish, a very curious fish. And that curious nature of him kind of makes him think, I really would like a friend. I really feel kind of lonely. And he wonders if that's possible at all for him. So, so that's how that came.
Yeah, because Arty meets a group of different beta fish in school, and they all have various personalities, and that's just like when you're going to school, right?
Yeah.
People who have these personalities, they want to be your friend, not be your friend, beat you up. I mean, that type of thing. But Arty, the great thing about him is his perseverance, right?
Yeah. Never give up.
Never give up. And that's a great message, to mention to young leaders that they should never give up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I talk about that with my students all the time when they say, I can't. Yes, you can. Don't give up. It's not over till it's over, I tell them. You never give up. Never give up.
Yes, and so because you're an art teacher, I know you have a lot of students that, like Arty, they're apprehensive when they're drawing. Some think that they have to have a perfect sketch or a perfect drawing, and they, or they give up, or they say, I can't be, they'll compare themselves to others. And how do you navigate, as an educator, art educator, as an illustrator, and as an author? How do your roles, how do they inform and inspire one another? And do you find that teaching art influences the way you approach storytelling?
I definitely think they relate to each other, because one thing, how I teach and honestly how I live my life, I try to infuse a little humor with everything. So as you can see in my book, my humor comes out, even if it's something more sensitive or serious. I think everything with a little bit of a smile is just a little easier to swallow, you know. So that's how that comes with the book. The teacher in me, that's where those interactive pages come out. So I ask you to be part of Arty's story and for you to take part in that. And that's definitely the teacher in me. When I was little, I'll tell you a secret, I used to draw characters and add characters into my children's books. So when I said to my publisher, I'd like to put a page at the end where you can add, where it's okay to draw in your book. So it was her idea to do it at the end of every chapter. And so I came up with a different prompt. For some kids like to draw and some kids like to write. So I kind of left it for both. That's definitely the teacher in me, letting you show your voice and add your little bit of voice into the book.
And that's great because that gives them the confidence, because we've always been told, don't write in a book, don't mark a book, don't do that.
Yeah.
We have the freedom and the opportunity to do so, which is wonderful. Yeah. I loved that when I saw it. Wasn't expecting it. A nice surprise. Readers, when you grab this book, you're going to love it because you will be able to, draw your own. And that's what great thing about this, Penny, is that you're asking our readers to do that. And, don't be afraid, because I remember, like, when I would be afraid to, like, draw in a book, I would just write in pencil, draw in pencil so I could erase it. But then as I got older, I figured, what, I'm just going to use a pen, I'm a marker, and then whatever happens, happens. And it's my work. It's my
Yeah. And then you're part of the story, too.
Exactly. So when we're exploring friendships, friendship is the central theme in Arty.
Yeah.
How do you define friendship in the story? And what does Arty learn about the nature of companionship through his relationship with the sea slug?
So friendship, how I'm thinking, like, is companionship and caring for somebody besides yourself. Somebody to have fun with. And that's what Arty finds in the sea slug. He learns to do that. At first, he says, I'm going to squash you, slug. Get out of my way. But then, and he scares the slug. But then he says sorry. And then the slug realizes, hey, this is not an ordinary betta fish. Something's different here. I'm going to follow him, and I'm going to see what I can find out. So, so just that curious nature, companionship, because Arty feels alone. He's lonely.
Yes, and it's always good to have a friend, especially a friend that has a sense of humor like the sea slug.
Yeah. The sea slug's a little like me. So people are reading it, they're like, he's a little like you, because I can be silly. Sometimes I talk a little too much, I think. And he has my blue eyes.
Oh, yes. Yep. Exactly.
He's there had to be some kind of something special about the sea slug, some unlikely friendship, because it would take something very special to be able to see through Arty's tough exterior.
Mm-hmm. How did you select the colors in the graphic novel? How did you think of those together?
So Arty the betta fish, he's purple. My sister-in-law's dad, that we were very close to, he had passed away, but his favorite everything was purple. So I kind of did that for him. And then Arty's named after my dad, Arthur. So that's Arty. And Arty has green eyes like my dad. And my dad was a 9th degree black belt in karate. Everybody knew him as tough guy. But on the inside, heart of gold, would do anything for anybody. And he was hysterical. So that's the colors of Arty.
Oh, what a wonderful tribute to your father.
Yeah.
This is nice. And speaking of like character dynamics and Arty and the slug and the other fishes, the relationship between Arty and the sea slug is pivotal to the story, right? I mean, in that story. What made you choose the sea slug as his friend? And how did their contrasting personalities shape the story?
Well, to be honest, when I was coming up with the story, I knew I wanted to write about a betta fish, but I wasn't sure who I wanted his friend to be. And I really thought that a sea slug, I like a lot of movement and a lot of fluidity. There's a lot of squash and stretch. You know, the way I draw, because I like to show a lot of emotions. And I thought a sea slug, that would be so much fun to draw. So I looked it up, and sea slugs most of the time live in salt water, whereas Arty is a freshwater fish. But there are some, as I read, that can live in freshwater. So I thought, how unlikely is that for that special little sea slug that would be in the freshwater, that would meet Arty? So it's like an unlikely and fun, and I just thought it would be really fun to draw, and it wound up working out. And the personality, so Arty has that serious but funniness to him, where Slug is just totally silly, will go on a rant and just over-explain things. That's me. Always trying to make somebody laugh, or or be like, of course, that's what friends do, or
Oh my gosh. So also in the story, there's humor and heart, right?
Yeah.
Always good to have humor.
Yeah.
This premise, heartfelt and humorous. How to balance Arty's lighthearted and more serious moments, especially when addressing Arty's personal growth.
Well, one, I try to, at the heartfelt things, I kind of changed the expressions and kind of toned it down, and not so, so much explosive movement and excitement. But I think everything with a little dose of smile, a little dose of happiness, it just goes down easier. And everything, I always say with my students, art with heart, everything, yeah.
That.
So, yeah. And I think, honestly, me in my classroom and my students know I kind of make jokes a lot. I'll make funny references to things, because I feel like that's how you get things to stick, and how people, you always relate. It's like a common thing, laughter. Everybody loves to laugh, whether you admit it or not.
True.
Yeah, so I feel like, a common laughing moment, that's something that's going to stick with you, and you're going to feel that. So, and then you feel the other stuff too, because it's also, you have to have those serious moments, learning from them, but it comes down better with the smiles and the laughs.
There's a scene in Arty when they're swimming together and they're trying to come up with a name for themselves. And Arty says, "How about Root?" Then Sea Slug says Root, and then Sea Slug says, "No way, that's twisted."
Yeah.
And see the roots that are twisted, and then they get a laugh. And I'm like, yeah, that's what friends do, right? That's what friends do. That's what people do.
Yeah.
Having a laugh, just growing together.
Yeah.
Growing roots.
Yeah.
See? But it's so much fun. And because it's in the sea, the symbolisms of the sea, the underwater world offers a unique setting, because it's unique. What does the ocean environment play in telling Arty's story also, and how does it influence the tons of themes of the graphic novel?
Well, being in the water, I feel like is very fluid, and it's always in constant motion. Things are always changing. So Arty is changing. Arty's learning to be a friend. First of all, he didn't know if he was allowed, and then he didn't know what to do. There's the one, what the friends do anyway. He knew he wanted one. He imagined it as a dance party. He didn't really know what friendship meant, So being in the water is very fluid, and one thing kind of blends into the next, and it's okay. There's no black and white. It's always, blending into the next. A lot of room for movement and flowing, and when I draw my book out, I draw it in pencil, a dummy, and then I take pictures of it and I put it into Procreate. I don't know a lot of the brushes. I use basically 3 or 4 of the same ones, and I use those brushes to hand draw it in. So I do a lot of the water and the things myself. I love that painting. I love texture and fluid of all that. So that comes to like my art sense too.
It's very fluid, and you could just see the swirls of color. In your and the text. You do that as well. You draw the text in there as well too.
I do some of the words I'm using InDesign, but a lot of them I'm hand drawing. A lot of the like, what? Hey, that. Yeah, that's me. I drew that.
I just love it. Have your students seen Arty? Have they seen the book?
Yeah.
Their thoughts?
They love Arty, and some of them actually argue who the bigger Arty fan is, who's the number one fan. You know. So last year at the end of the year, I got my first test book from the printer. So I brought it in. I showed my students, and in one class, a bunch of them got up in the front of the room. This was their own idea. They each took a part and they acted out Arty. They read it to the class. It was hysterical. It was so funny. It was adorable. It makes my heart feel good, because I think when I wrote the book, I never watered down the language. So really it could be for anything, any age, either read to them or they're reading it. So it really could be for any age level. When my daughter was little, she loved books. She still loves books. But she didn't like the baby books, as she said. She wanted the big language. She the librarians, that was her friends. We'd go to the library all the time. Yay. Yeah. So I didn't water down the language. I kept it, with not, watering down words and things. So my students, it wasn't like they were reading a baby book. They thought it was for them.
And you mentioned that this book is intended for ages 0 to 100.
That's what my publisher said.
Yep. So that's and that's true. Although, because I used to think that too, baby books, I don't want to read baby books. I didn't want books with pictures in them. I wanted just full text so I can imagine. I didn't want to see the illustrations. That was, but later on, I adjusted. Sometimes I would just not look at the illustrations because I didn't want it to spoil the images in my head.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that your students, that they acted out Arty. That reminds me of something like Reader's Theater, that you can do something like that with Arty.
Oh, yeah.
So act it out. You could have a puppet show with Arty.
Yeah. There is an Arty the puppet. He was made.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a puppet show. I mean, it's something to think about. I mean,
yeah.
They already have, what's that? Mo Willems has Don't Let the Pigeon Ride the Bus, and puppets.
Yeah.
Think of that with Arty, with some music, and I mean, it would be fun.
Yeah.
So themes of identity. Arty, we were struggling to find out what friendship was. He had this idea of what it was, but he seems to struggle with the expectation, how he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Is who he truly is.
Yeah.
How does this internal conflict play out? And what messages are you hoping to convey to readers about embracing one's true self?
So Arty knows how he's supposed to be. He thinks he's supposed to be tough. You see a fish, you fight, and that they don't have friends. But he feels different on the inside. And he was growing up feeling like he never belonged. He always felt different, and he didn't know what to do. And then there's an Arty 2 in the works, and there is there is a chapter about Arty when little Arty and how he what he does to originally make him want to go on this journey to the wise old snail. So he tries to figure that out, and then he one day just says, that's it, I have to find out. So then he goes on the journey, but when he goes on the journey, he actually figures it out himself. The wise old snail doesn't answer him. He realizes that I've been doing it. I have it in me, and it's okay to be me. It's okay to be me.
You hear that, readers, the listeners? It's okay to be yourself. It's okay. Yeah. I interviewed Tony Weaver Jr. for his graphic novel Weirdo, and it was kind of like being yourself, being your authentic, true self is important.
Yes.
You don't have to listen to what people tell you who you should be.
Exactly.
That's what's important.
Yeah.
And I think with stories like yours, with like Arty, it's so important to have these stories that enrich our young people's lives, because they need that. They really do.
And I kind of feel like even though you feel like you're different, there's always things that you'll find with people. Like, you look for things that you can relate to each other. Even however different you feel, there's still those common grounds that you may not even realize. You just feel like you're different, you don't belong, but you do. But you're all your own flavors. Look, ice cream, there's lots of flavors. You're all ice cream, but you're all different flavors and you're all yummy. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, you're all yummy.
yeah.
And it's yeah. That I agree with that. And see, you answered my question because I was going to ask you, was there going to be an Arty part 2?
Yeah. 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 Oh, it explains a lot. And the end of the first Arty, there's a bottle with a message in it. I'm just giving you a little sneak peek. Has a lot to do with that.
Oh,
yeah. And they meet a new friend.
ooh, ooh, maybe a starfish, maybe a seahorse. Don't say anything.
I won't say.
I'll spoil it.
Yeah. But she is awesome, the new friend.
Ooh.
It's a she. Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, you hear that, listeners? We're going to have a great time seeing when Arty 2 comes out, and I will keep everyone posted on that. I will be following you all the way through, Penny.
Oh, awesome.
I do have one question for you, and this is my last question. What is your process like when you get up in the morning? Like I know you're an art teacher, but I mean, being a teacher, it's a lot. It's a lot of energy, right? It's a lot. So how do you have time to come home and wind down and create this your stories, having time to do that, submitting them to your publisher, editing them, and then you got to go to work, which is this isn't it's not your full-time job. So how do you balance that?
I think, well, first of all, when I get ideas, they come in the craziest times. A lot of them, I'll be driving in the car and all of a sudden, boom, an idea comes. So I've learned to talk to myself in my phone, and I text myself,
Nice.
I leave a message verbally. But truthfully, this is so much fun to me. I love this. So it is my de-stressor. When I come home, I can sit here with my music on, with the door closed, and when I write my story, though, I need quiet. So I'll sit and I'll write it, I'll handwrite it, and then I put it into a Google Doc, and then I start drawing out my dummy, and I work it from page to page. Once I have it drawn out, then I put it digitally. I take pictures and put it into Procreate.
I love Procreate.
Yeah, but I love it. I'm in critique groups. I'm a member of SCBWI, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and they've been instrumental to me. I've been a member for over 15 years because I've been writing stories for so long. And I was writing children's books first, and then I always felt like this is just not enough. This is not, who's me? Who's me is the graphic novel. That's me. That kind of style, I feel like you're giving the reader twice the ride. You're getting the words and the visual. You're keeping them on a double journey.
Yeah.
That's so me. I don't even use a template for my panels. I draw paneling myself because I do it with the movement. I kind of feel like it keeps you moving. The graphic novel, that's me, and that's my fun. I just love it. When I going through tough things in my life, I sit in here and I'm drawing, I'm working on my books, and everything else just melts away.
That's okay. Then that's a great process because you're balancing everything.
Yeah,
you're still in control about how you want to create your work, right? Your art. And so that right there it gives you a lot of motivation.
Yeah.
Right? Because first of all, your students inspire you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Family encourages you.
Definitely.
And so you're like Arty too. You're not giving up.
Never.
In doing this. So
yeah.
I want our listeners to know that this book is fantastic.
Oh.
I loved reading it. It was a joy. And I know our readers are going to love it as well. I know they will. And so I just want to thank you, Penny.
Oh, thank you.
Being here on Reading in the Middle, because this is just exciting. You know the graphic novel El Defo?
I love it. I have it sitting right behind me. I took a workshop with her at an CBWI conference. She's hysterical.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I say that because by that book, that graphic novel, winning the Newbery Honor, it really changed the game for graphic novels.
Yeah.
Jerry Craft changed the game. And so now in the beginning, like when graphic novels were just coming out, people were like, oh, let's stop reading. That's not real reading.
Right.
But it is. And
it is. It's twice the reading.
Twice.
Like words and the pictures.
Exactly. And that is one of the reasons why you're in the same league with those graphic novels. Just awesome.
Oh, that makes my heart smile.
You have the exact same message. Your art. I love your art.
Oh, thank you.
So I just want to thank you again for being our guest and just sharing your process, your insight, your work, and talking about Arty.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. I want to extend a huge thank you to Penny Schneider for joining us today and sharing her insights into the world of Arty. It's clear that her passion for storytelling and art shines through in every page of her work. Penny, your journey from doodling for your daughter to creating a graphic novel that touches on themes of friendship, individuality, and finding connection has been truly inspiring. We can't wait to see what's next for you. And for our listeners, if you haven't already, be sure to check out Arty and dive into his heart-warming adventure. And remember, you can follow Penny's creative journey at pennyschneider.com for more updates on her upcoming projects. Thanks again for listening to Reading in the Middle. And remember, keep reading, keep being inspired, and keep reading in the middle. Thank you.